Tom in Bristol, United Kingdom, and he says, which option would you recommend? Number one, moving over as soon as possible, renting a property, and then eventually going on to buy something as soon as we can afford to. Or number two, delay the move by years, saving and buying somewhere where we are currently with the goal of being able to put down a deposit straight away when we make it over. Essentially, taking the time to set ourselves up first or moving over immediately because we can't wait and then working things from there. So thanks, Tom. I really appreciate that answer. I took this question, Tom, because I think there's a financial component to what you're asking, which is essentially, when's the right time to kind of buy a house and can we pay for the house and afford for the house? And I'm sure that Scott and Dellon and Heidi will speak to that. The part that I want to speak to, and actually the part that I'd like us all to speak to, is I think the broader question. I think this is the bigger question, which is, how do you want to live your life? Do you want to live your life? Do you want to spend, let's just say, the majority of your years where you're living now, and then essentially, let's just say, retire in Hawaii? Or do you want to live in Hawaii now? And maybe even retire back to the mainland, but do you want to live in Hawaii now? So I think that's the real question. And I think for me personally, now I've lived in Hawaii since the mid 80s. And what I can speak to you is this, is that I have lived here since my early 20s. I mean, I came here my first trip was in Maui. I was 20 years old. So I've lived here since then. And I can tell you that nothing can ever replace me being able to surf and enjoy Hawaii in my youth, in my early 20s, going on hikes, being as you are in your 20s, you're invincible, right? And being able to live that whole life. To me, it's part of living the path. It's not about the destination, right? The destination isn't Hawaii. It's the adventure. It's the road there that is Hawaii. And for that reason, I would say if Hawaii appeals to you as a place to live, as a place that speaks to you, to me, you want to live in Hawaii as early as you can because you want to live the majority of your life in Hawaii. Because right now, even for whatever reason, God forbid, I have to go back to the mainland, which is not in my plans anytime soon. But if I have to go back to the mainland for whatever reason, you know what? I've lived most of my life here. I lived my 20s here. I can never live my 20s back in Hawaii ever again. And to me, that's priceless. So to me, it's a part of the journey. I believe in enjoying the way there. The journey is life, not the end result is life. I would never want to, if I was to put this in really contrasting terms, I would never want to live in misery. Not that you're living in misery, but just to put it into a contrast. I would never want to live in misery and saving up my pennies and then live in Hawaii finally near my end years and retire. That's not living the journey. To me, I would rather come to Hawaii with pennies and try to make it work. Meanwhile, I'm living here my whole life. And that's, I think, the contrast and why I like the question so much. It gave me the chance to kind of share this perspective and this view. So that's my quick intro. So let's go around, and I want to get your reactions on what you think as far as all those, also the financial aspect of, rent now and buy later, or buy later or buy now or whatever. Let's go around in reverse. We're going to go around in reverse clockwise over here. So Heidi, I'm going to start with you to get your reaction, your feedback. What do you think? Because you've been in Hawaii for a while. You came from Illinois. You're living in Maui. How do you feel about the whole thing?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a different answer for everybody. I mean, only you can really answer that question. For me, I knew it would take me a long, long time to save up and buy a house in Hawaii, and I just wanted to be here now. So I moved here when I did and just went for it. But I mean, the question, rent now or buy, that's actually a really good question. And so many people ask me this and struggle with this and are trying to make the best decision. And, I think if it's a matter of you're not here on the island and you're just really unsure about where you want to be and you might want to try out different areas, I mean, renting really might be best for you. I mean, some other things to think about are you able to work remotely? Do you do something now for work that you are going to be able to save a lot of money and move over more comfortably in a few years? are you in a position now that's going to make it easier to buy a house? And then that would just make your life easier when you move over here. I mean, perhaps if you're working now, you could buy something and then retire and then already have a place to go. So, I mean, anyway, I know I'm just asking more questions, but it's really going to be personal to everybody. But it is a very good question, and it's something to explore, because, I mean, the other thing I see people do that move here is they spend years renting and spending a lot of money on rent when they really would have just been better off buying something that they could afford and then, working up from there rather than, renting and renting. So anyway, that's my take.
Thank you, Heidi. This is what I love about the diversity of this group. Absolutely love it. And look, and Joe says you're not guaranteed tomorrow. Enjoy it now while you can. Well said, Joe. I completely agree. Dellon, what's when you get these kinds of questions, what's your feedback? What's your take? Give me the Dellonism.
Okay, I'll start with one. Avoid paralysis of analysis. All right. So my take on, I'll give you my philosophical view, which is similar to yours, Peter, is that you got to do resource management, right? And money is an unlimited resource technically, right? And we can make as much money as we can possibly make if we go out there and we do something smart and we work hard. Time is a limited resource. You never know how much time you have, and that's the crazy thing about life, is it could end any time, but you don't get another day back. Once you lose a day, you never get it back. If you lose some money, you can always make that money back or make more money in the future. So from a financial standpoint, I think waiting till you're perfectly ready and comfortable is probably not the best idea if you're sacrificing quality of life for financial comfort. And that just doesn't apply to somebody moving from the mainland. I give this advice to friends and family, and especially young people. I bought my first house when I was 24. Probably had no business doing it. Probably couldn't afford it. I mean, just figured it out along the way, and has compounded and set up wealth that allowed for a second home and a third home, and really helped us get to the place we are, where I have peers who have been renting their whole entire life. And, if you calculate how much money they've put towards rent and how much money they could have been putting towards a mortgage and building equity in a home and wealth towards a bigger house or a nicer house or whatever it is in the future, they really missed a lot of time. So that's something to consider. People always try and wait for the right time, and they overanalyze stuff, and it prevents action. And I would just say, don't do that. The timing is never perfect. The timing to start a business is never perfect. Another one is having kids. People want to wait till the perfect time to have kids. There's never no perfect time. You just got to go do it and figure it out. There's never a perfect time to get married. I mean, all of that stuff. So I would just say, don't suffer from paralysis of analysis. Make a decision and have fun.
Love it, man. Great Dellonism. Scott, before you begin, I want you to know that you've got Megan's a fan. My daughter just grabbed my phone and asked if I was watching an elf show. Ha! She loves the hat, Scott. See, Scott, hat is a winner. All right, Scott, what's your take on this issue that we're discussing now? What's your perspective?
Yeah, it's very similar to what you were saying, and I'm a prime example of it. I mean, I came out here 21 years ago, and I still have my return trip ticket. I never left, because you dive into things and you figure it out. No plan is going to go perfectly well. And, the longer you wait in another area, life is going on in that other area. You're focused solely on the things that are going on. Let's say, for me, it was back in North Carolina. There's no way I ever would have made this move out here. And you come out here and you figure it out. Who knows what's going to happen later on in life, or in a couple of years, the timing may just not be right. If a family member gets sick, you got to move back closer to them to take care of them. Somebody has grandbabies, you need to be moved closer to doing that. So waiting, I'm not a big fan of waiting. I came out here when I was 22 and figured out how to make it work, and it's been one of the best experiences of my life. The other aspect is trying to wait to save up. Most people can't do it. Oahu in itself, on average for the last 35 years, has appreciated by 4.6% per year. So our single family home price right now is $822,000. So if it appreciates at 4.6 per year, you got to save an additional $37,000 more or less each year to be able to try to stay up with what the housing prices are doing. And, you know, if you come here, you'll figure it out. You know, you have to be put into the fire, so to speak, and deal with the chaos and the issues that come at you. And the sooner you get over here, the sooner you'll figure it out. And, you know, you'll either be happy or you go in a different direction. You can always move back. It doesn't have to be a permanent move. You know, you enjoy the experiences while you're here. And I'm still here 21 years later with my ticket that I never left. So.
Yeah, well said, man.